You know, every family has a story, but some stories are just epic. Today, we're going to trace one family's incredible 300-year journey through American history. From an immigrant ship to the battlefields of the Revolution and way beyond, this is one of those stories that reminds you how a single family's path can really mirror the story of an entire nation. You see, a family's history is so much more than just a list of names and dates, right? As this genealogy shows, it's a living, breathing story. Every single generation adds another chapter, building this amazing bridge that connects the past to the future. It's a powerful reminder that we're all part of something so much bigger than ourselves. And this idea is just perfectly captured in this quote from Daniel Webster. The idea of being a link in a chain, that is exactly what the Poston family story is all about. It's about this duty we all have to remember where we came from so we can really understand who we are and where we're going. So here's our game plan. We'll start with the very first immigrant to set foot in America. Then we're going to dive into some wild family myths and separate fact from fiction. After that, we'll follow their grueling trek south and see how they fought to plant their roots deep in American soil. Okay, so where does a story like this even begin? Well, every great family tree starts with a single seed. And for the Postons of South Carolina, that seed was a man named John Poston, the very first link in this American chain. I want you to just imagine this for a second. It's the early 1700s. John Poston leaves everything he's ever known in England behind for this promise of a new world. He lands in Philadelphia and just starts pushing west. By 1722, he's on the tax lists, and just 2 decades after that, he's done it. He's achieved the dream. He owns over 274 acres of his own land. He became what they called a yeoman farmer, really the backbone of colonial America. And here's the thing that's so important to remember. John Poston wasn't famous. He wasn't leading armies or building some kind of trade empire. No, he was an ordinary man doing something truly extraordinary, carving a life out of the raw wilderness to build a future. He is that first crucial link, the anchor for everything that comes next. You know how family stories go, right? As they get passed down from generation to generation, they tend to get a little bigger, a little more dramatic. Well, let's see how the Poston family story was full of legends that were almost as compelling as the actual truth. So, the first big family legend was all about its founding. For decades, the story everyone told was that 2 brothers, John and Andrew, came over from England together to start the Carolina branch of the family. It's a classic immigrant tale. But was it true? Well, as it turns out, diligent research found a little twist. The 2 guys who traveled south were brothers. All right, but they were the grandsons of the original John Poston. And the other brother's name wasn't Andrew, it was Anthony, but everyone called him Antony. So the heart of the story, the spirit of it, was totally true, even if the details got a little fuzzy over time. Okay, but that little mix-up about the brothers, that is nothing compared to the next family myth. Oh, this one is juicy. This one involved a tantalizing tale of lost riches, a story that gave the family hope during some really tough times, the legend of the fabulous Holmes fortune. So the legend went something like this. Way back when, an ancestor, a super wealthy merchant named Sir James Holmes of Belfast, had left a massive inheritance. For generations, the family truly believed a fortune was just waiting for them across the ocean. You can just imagine the whispers and the dreams that story must have sparked. So, after years and years of hope, the family finally pulled their money together and hired lawyers in England to go claim their inheritance. And the result? It was absolutely devastating. The will, the very document that held all their hopes and dreams, turned out to be a complete fake, a forgery. The fabulous fortune was nothing more than a fairy tale. What a tough lesson to learn. All right, so with the family myths busted, let's get back to the real story, which honestly needed no embellishment at all. The family makes this momentous decision. They're going to leave the relative comfort of Pennsylvania and journey 700 miles south, deep into the unknown. So you might be asking, why would they leave? Why leave a place they worked so hard to build? Well, by the 1760s, Pennsylvania was starting to get a little crowded. The very land that guys like the first John Poston had pioneered was now getting expensive and scarce. A huge wave of thousands of families started looking south for a new start, and yep, the Postons were right there with him. I mean, really try to think about the sheer courage this took. In 1766, they sell the farm that had been their home for decades. They pack up everything they own into these big, sturdy Conestoga wagons and set out on the Great Philadelphia Wagon Road, which was basically a rough 700-mile dirt track into the absolute unknown, all for the hope of a new beginning. And that destination was the Pee Dee region of South Carolina. Now, this was not some settled, cozy place. This was the backcountry. This was the wilderness. And this is where the South Carolina branch of the Poston family would truly begin, where they'd have to build a new life from scratch, all over again. But, planting roots in a new home is one thing. Defending it, that's something else entirely. Just as the family was getting settled, the colonies exploded into war. They were going to have to fight for the very future they had traveled so far to build. And the man at the center of this next chapter is John Poston III, the grandson of that original immigrant. He wasn't just a farmer anymore. He was a patriot soldier called to fight for independence. And just look at his service record. It is unbelievable. He served as a private in the South Carolina militia. He fought under the legendary Francis Marion, the swamp fox, the guy who basically perfected guerrilla warfare in the southern swamps. He was at the pivotal Battle of Cowpens, which was a huge American victory, and he was there for the war's dramatic conclusion. Okay, this is my favorite detail, and it's pulled directly from his wife Rebecca's application for a military pension years later. She states that her husband John was there. He was, and I'm quoting here, present, and saw Cornwallis surrender his sword at Yorktown. Just, wow. The son of a simple farmer witnessing the birth of a nation right there with his own eyes. So think about that. In just 2 generations, the Poston family journey stretches all the way from an immigrant ship in Philadelphia to the final victorious battlefield of the American Revolution. Their personal story of just trying to survive and build a life was now completely woven into the founding of the United States. And that's really the big takeaway here. Their story is a powerful reminder that history isn't just a top-down story about kings and presidents and generals. It's built from the ground up by countless families just like the Postons, the pioneers, the farmers, and the soldiers whose quiet courage and relentless perseverance truly built a country. Which brings us all the way back to that Daniel Webster quote from the beginning. The Postons were a link. They preserved a story and they built a future. And it leaves us with a final question to think about for ourselves. In our own lives, are we acting as that link? Are we doing our duty to connect our own past with our own future?